everybody. Welcome to When Calls the Hallmarkies. This is the show where we are recapping this season of When Calls the Heart, and we are talking today about season 9, episodes 6 and 7. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ruth Hill is here.
Hi, lovely to be here.
And our friend Jax is here. Yay!
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm glad that I got invited back after the preview show.
Yes, we had so much fun on that preview show,
A lot of fun.
and now we are halfway down the season. How do you feel, Jax? How do you feel about the season so far? Overall,
Well, even when I do have to say that even when I'm not on the podcast, I watch it every week and I listen to you guys every other week with the two shows. So I feel like I'm a part of the conversation. I'm really enjoying this season. There are some unexpected things that I'm not sure where they're going, but it's keeping me intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What do you think? A halfway point, Ruth? How are you feeling about it? The season?
I'm happy with it. Hey, they talk about Carson every single episode. I mean, I laugh every time. It's like he's not in this season, and yet they talk about him, which it's just funny that happens. But no, honestly, I have been enjoying it. And man, we've gotten some makeout scenes. Whew, those are some hot scenes.
Pretty much, yeah. And the only person we hear about more that's not on the show was probably Abigail.
Oh, that's true. I know.
Carson and Abigail.
I keep expecting that she'll just like somehow show up like I don't know. I mean, I know she won't, but there's that part of me that thinks, man,
they're like chatting it up on the phone as if like long distance calls were everyday occurrences.
Exactly right.
Abigail told me. She told me what was going on. I knew. I was like, oh my.
I talked to her this morning.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was growing up, so this is a long time after this, it was pretty rare to have a long distance telephone call. That didn't happen that often.
No.
Because my grandparents were, one was in California, one set was in Utah, we were in Maryland, and so we would write letters to our grandparents because we couldn't call them very much.
Well, it was pretty expensive. Those were back
in
the
yeah,
day
yeah.
when you had to pay by the minute. I remember those days, and I can remember having some very high phone bills, even when I was a young adult.
Yeah, in fact, my parents, so they had gotten to know each other, got set on a blind date, and they were set up by my uncle, my mom's brother, and one of my dad's mission companions. And anyway, they got set up, and then he went away on a study abroad to Germany, because this was when they were in college, and they kind of courted through these long distance phone calls, and he proposed via phone call from Germany.
Really?
Yeah. And so my grandparents, because they weren't wealthy people, that was their wedding present, was all the phone calls. Which is cute.
It's a good present. I mean, they wouldn't have been able to do it without it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie. This is something you should pitch to Hallmark. Go for it. Yes.
It's true. Jax, you want to work on it with me?
Oh my gosh, it sounds like someone, because I knew they meant a blind date, but I didn't know we proposed over the phone. So
here's the
this
funny
is like
thing.
a lot of layers here.
Yeah, maybe they had some inclination, because not only did my parents meet on a blind date, but my grandparents, my mom's parents, also met on a blind date.
Rachel, you know what that means.
I know. But I've told, if you listen to the Sex and the City podcast, you will know that I've mentioned many times, I'm totally open to any setups, any and all setups. I'll go on a date with anyone. I'll have a meal with almost anyone. As long as they're not like a serial killer or someone weird, like on a date. So yeah, let me know if you
We're still looking for hot Boston Jake.
I know.
Ruth, you may have to help us with that. I think with all of our powers combined, we can work something out.
Maybe. Oh, well, anyway, so we have the episode 6 today that's is called Past, Present, Future. And this is Lee writes a new editorial in the Valley Voice. Gowan worries about the oil company's intentions now that Fiona has all but secured a deal with investors. And I have to say, I still just don't have a handle on this whole investor thing. I don't understand what's going on. I don't really remember how Fiona got involved, why Fiona is involved. She was just like cutting people's hair, and then all of a sudden she's like going to make deals in San Francisco, and I just don't really get this whole, and I kind of don't really care, and I wish it was just not there. I think almost all the other conflict is more interesting. Do you agree, Jax?
I think, yes, I agree that it's confusing. And my thing is that I feel like I would be interested in it if I knew more what was going on. But I feel like it's this whole situation where I feel like they're trying to tell me that I'm supposed to be mad at someone or think someone's shady, but I don't even know who I'm supposed to think is shady. Like, is Fiona doing the weird stuff? Is Lucas doing the weird stuff? Is Gowan doing the weird stuff? Is someone like out west doing the weird stuff? What is happening? Because I don't know how I'm supposed to feel or what I'm supposed to think.
Yeah, it's confusing because at one point they're all saying, "Oh, Lucas and Walden are thick as thieves," and then people are upset with Fiona, but then she's going back and she's still making the deal. But then like at one point, Gowan says, "Well, I'm not going to be a part of the deal, or I'm not going to be part of the company unless the deal is made." But then he seems to hate. I don't know. I don't get it. What do you think, Ruth?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I feel like Fiona's gotten a really raw deal. Like, I feel like she was doing all, she's supposed to be negotiating a deal, but they didn't even tell her everything. And then she was supposed to know somehow. Gowan's like saying, and so I'm just really confused, and she's just back and forth so much and going back and forth to San Francisco. So I mean, is it really that easy to get to San Francisco from where they are?
I don't think so.
Because it just seems like, oh, I'm just gonna go to San Francisco. Like,
just a quick jaunt.
Yeah.
Ruth, I was really hoping you would have all the answers for me and Rachel.
No, I'm afraid not. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I feel sorry for Fiona. I find myself feeling sorry for Fiona more than anything, because I just feel like she's so confused. I feel like maybe I can understand what she's going through because she's confused. I'm confused. I think we're all confused.
And I just don't even know how Fiona got involved to begin with. I vaguely remembered her going to the train station last season, but it wasn't even strong enough. I didn't even have it in the preview because I basically forgotten about it. But I was like, oh yeah, there was that weird part where she goes to the station, and I guess she was making a deal. I have no idea why. The other thing that I think is really weird is they were totally giving us Hickam and Fiona vibes for a long time, and then all of a sudden in these 2 episodes he's like super flirty with Faith.
I was thinking the same thing. I don't understand that. I'm confused too.
And it's like they're not even a kind of a couple at all anymore. Fiona and Hickam.
Okay, yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, I get the feeling that, I mean, I think last season, obviously so much has changed since the end of last season, but they were setting us up to ship Nathan and Faith and Fiona and Hickam. And then when they shoveled everything around, I think they were just like, let's see, put Hickam with Faith, see how that sticks.
Yeah.
Confused. Now Hickam's like this pillar of strength, and it's more in the next episode, but like inspiring Faith to burn down her sign. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. But yeah, it starts off with Fiona. She cinched the deal to sell the oil company, but Elizabeth is getting upset about the fact that Lucas is working with Walden, But Lucas says, oh, I'm just keeping my options open. So yeah, and then there's this whole thing with the mine. And I guess the thing about the mine is if they were going to open it again, wouldn't it have to go through like safety and all different kinds of things? They can't just like randomly open it.
Yeah, especially when they've had one epic disaster in there that wiped out, a fourth of the town.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that would happen just because of them giving it a different name. But that seemed to be the concern.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I would agree. I mean, I'm not quite understanding all that. I guess it just goes back to that this is the part that I don't, and I also don't know, as you were saying, Rachel, I don't know how it advances the storyline. I feel like in some ways it's a bit of a stalemated story. Like I don't like the idea of, okay, I see what they're doing with Gowan, but I'm not sure what the purpose is of the story. I still haven't figured that out in this many episodes in.
It's just not all that interesting. It's kind of like when on Chesapeake Shores, they were doing the whole plot about the zoning. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I don't care about that at all. Like it was.
Yeah, I hear you.
We didn't need any. And it's just kind of like, here's business segment that we can kind of not care about. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. But we also have, it starts out with this major traffic problem. There's just too many cars. They're all wanting to go on the same street. And it's a problem. And the people are getting upset with Nathan about it, and people want Hickam to solve the problem. I don't know. What do you think about traffic in Hope Valley, Jax?
I mean, I think they're putting a lot of pressure on Hickam. He just took office.
Yeah, he doesn't even have his office yet.
Yeah. So let's let the man live and figure it out a little. I don't think it's his fault. Also, I don't blame Nathan either. I think it's just like, as a society progresses, like you need to figure out things like that. So I think that I will cast the blame so heavily on any one individual.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't love that the Flomo was very strong, I thought, in this episode. Very funny. And their solution to wanting to have a manners class. And of course,
yes.
I mean, going back to our discussion in the preview where we're talking about the saloon, like their solution is to have the classes at the saloon. And I'm like, see? Some people are saying like, how could Elizabeth date a saloon owner? Like, yeah, the place where they have like women's council functions. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm surprised they don't have church at the saloon, to be quite honest. I mean,
that's right. At this point,
yeah, exactly.
Well, and I was happy though. This is more in the next episode, but they released Gustav. He's free. We actually saw him. That's very exciting because he's you only ever see him at the saloon. But yeah, Florence gets upset because she says the customers are being super rude and somebody stole Ned's peaches.
Yes.
If you were to pick, Jax, a canned fruit, pears, peaches, fruit cocktail, which your favorite? What would you pick?
Strongly against fruit cocktail for me. Okay. I think I'm going to go with the canned peaches.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Well, I actually don't mind. I like fruit cocktail as long as it has a lot of cherries in it. But probably I would go with either peaches or pears. Well, what about you, Ruth?
Yeah, no, I was honestly just trying to think what I would go with. If it's high quality fruit cocktail, it's actually pretty good. If it's high quality. Yeah. Pineapple. I actually probably canned pineapple might be my favorite.
Yeah.
Though.
I do like canned pineapple. The tidbits more than the chunks.
Yes. But canned peaches, yeah. I mean, I'm good with peaches, pears. Yeah.
The way you gals are talking about fruit cocktail, I'm thinking I've never had a good one, is what I'm picking up here.
You gotta have the very cherry one with lots of cherries.
Yeah.
You said cherries, and I was like, I have just had really watery ones full of all like yellow fruits that are indiscernible.
Yeah, and if you have too many grapes,
yeah,
I don't like that. That's gross. But so then we have the Canfields are debating should they ask to purchase the mill, I guess, from Lee or to be a partner in it, or should they purchase the cafe. And this is where we get a lot of like, I talked to Abigail, like all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of going on. And then we also have things going on with May and her husband. And it's a little bit confusing because didn't Florence and Ned say that they thought they were communicating with her husband?
Yes.
Yeah, and Faith said that too, I think.
Yeah, and so then she lied and went instead of her husband, but now she's saying, oh, we're not actually married. He lied about that. But how would they know that? Was he lying to them as well? That how would they even have come in contact with her? I guess through Faith. But they were working with him, not her. They thought, at least, right?
Yeah, and I thought Faith thought the same thing because she knew her husband or supposed husband from medical school, right?
Right. So because Faith asks her, what's going on? And May says things were never going to work for us. So was Faith just confused and thought that her husband was a nice guy and turns out, oh, he's not? Or I don't know. I feel like there's, again, some confusion going on.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting the whole story. And I think that that's purposeful. I think we're not supposed to get the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he committed fraud. It's possible that maybe it wasn't a legal marriage. Maybe. I mean, that is a possibility. She could have filed for divorce. It is possible. I mean, that's another possibility. And I know that can be really difficult during that time period. But I think there's a lot that we are not privy to. And I'm kind of thinking we are going to, this storyline I'm intrigued by, though. Instead of the business side, this one does intrigue me. There's a lot of things that we don't know. And I think they're doing that on purpose.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
What do you think, Jax, about Maysu as a character in the season?
I'm really enjoying Maysu. I think that, sorry if I'm getting the two episodes conflated here. I think this
is a little bit.
Yes.
I understand.
With, she has this really like lovely scene where she's getting to know Allie a little bit more. I think that is in episode 7. And I think her chemistry with Nathan is really great and not forced. And she has some lovely moments with Fiona too, where she's talking through some of the stuff, and with Elizabeth. So I think she's a really great addition to Hope Valley. But to sort of echo what Ruth is saying, I definitely feel like this is meant to intrigue, and like they are leading us somewhere that is going to eventually make sense. Whereas I think the business storyline, I'm not as confident that that's going to happen.
Yeah. The other thing, so at the beginning, we see Newton still being real anxious with Nathan. And so Bill comes to him and says, I don't want you writing Newton unless I sign off on it, and that he's pulling rank. I mean, is that just more sort of an overall seniority versus like a specific, because he's not a Mountie, he's not mayor, there's no actual rank, it's more just like pulling rank as far as our friendship, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's more unofficial, and that and is based on their relationship.
Yeah.
And that he knows that Nathan will respect what he has to say, even if he doesn't agree, just because I think that's what he's doing. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's just Jack Wagner being like, I've been a series regular on this show longer than you have.
Yeah, and then he's mad at May Sue because May Sue is the one who told Bill about Newton. And so he's saying, I told you that in confidence, and he gets upset with her. And so do you think they're building that tension between May Sue and Nathan well, Ruth?
Yeah, I would say so, because I would not want, there's sparks there, I would not want to suddenly have him, he's been so into Elizabeth and now he's going to jump and he's so into May Sue. It just doesn't, that wouldn't make sense. So I think it's actually good that they're not just, that there is this tension, and that they're going to take things slowly, because I certainly don't want them married by the end of the season. That's not what I want.
Yeah, that's a little fast. That would be a little fast.
Yeah.
But the other thing that confuses me a little bit about this episode, and kind of a plot point going forward, is I don't really get the whole Allie thing, because they are saying, so Allie's trying to say, should we be more than friends? But she's supposed to be like 15, 14, something like that. I don't know how old she is, because if she's 13 or 14, she really shouldn't be anything more than friends. I mean, I guess you can like cute date when you're like young and just, I don't know, just be an excuse to sit next to each other or whatever. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like, what more is she talking about? She's like, she keeps saying, we need to be more than, I'm like, what are you talking about? You're 14.
She wants that bike ride that Angela got. That's what she wants.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need, I messaged Jada to see if I could get a handle on how young we're talking about, because I think last time we spoke, Caroline was saying that she was only supposed to be 13. And I'm thinking, if she's 13, then this is getting really weird, because Robert is graduated from high school. And so I don't know. I feel like I need to know how old she is.
Yeah, if we're going to be okay with this, we need to know.
Well, and I think we do need
is she 15? Is she 13? Like, I need to know.
Well, I think we do need to remember the time period. I know that we're not always sure of the time period, but do remember that back then, most of the time, and I think it even comes clearer when you're out here on the frontier, girls were getting married young. They were getting married at 14, 15, 16. It was very common.
I would be really surprised if they did that on One Calls the Heart.
I would be surprised, yes, but and just there's this thing about, and I think we even see it in today's culture. Girls, especially, wanting to grow up so fast. They see a guy. Why do you have 10-year-olds who are, even in today's culture, pining over boys in their class? And he doesn't like me, or does he like me? And they get so caught up in that. So it still happens in today's culture too.
Oh yeah, and they talk about they've got a boyfriend, and usually that just means they sit next to each other at lunch.
Yeah, true.
these kids. And so I don't know if that's what Allie is talking, or she, like you said, she just wants a bicycle ride. I don't know, but every time she kept saying that, we want to be more than just friends. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're 14 or
you
however old you are.
Wait for me, Allie. We need to unpack this.
Yeah, true.
Because they have this big ice cream fight. And the thing about this is that, and I know I'm overthinking this, but like the way they had the ice cream was, it would have only worked is if it had melted, right? The way that they had the spills on their clothes. And so I'm like, did they lose the power in the ice cream parlor? Because that's not the way. I mean, it was like liquid, right? And
At each other.
yeah. And they're like, I only left you alone for a few minutes. You had this very flirty ice cream fight. I'm like, what is happening here? And I want to hear Robert's point of view on this.
Mm-hmm.
What is he thinking?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, there's some pent up tension here with all of this.
Yeah, she says my inner beauty came out and he sprayed me with seltzer. Like,
yeah.
So Robert, wow.
It was really like, did I catch that correctly? My inner beauty, that is the line verbatim, Rachel.
Yeah.
You nailed it. So
it reminds me of in It's a Wonderful Life, where he has that bum ear. And so she leans over in at the ice cream parlor and says, I love you. George Bailey.
That is one of the sweetest scenes of all time. I love that.
Yeah. She's like, is this your bad ear? So I don't know. It was fun. The ice cream fight was fun. And especially like seeing them try to kind of make a learning moment of all this and kind of failing, which was funny. I liked that, but I was still just kind of like like I said, every time that Allie said, I want to be more than friends, I was just really confused. Okay. So then we have, let's see here. Hickam, he compliments Faith's hair. She's got a new hairstyle. And then he asks her to dinner for objective advice at the saloon, of course.
Yes.
And I mean, I actually think that is a pretty good match. I feel like they would be fun. It's new. Like I said, they had just been doing Fiona and Hickam a lot. He kept going to get his hair cut over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think this pairing works. I think it does. I mean, I think also because, I follow all of them on social media and they have the same birthday and I've seen photos of them together. And I've always been like, oh, they're a cute friend duo in real life. But I think it works I think it was implanted in my brain because I've seen their birthday pictures.
Yeah,
I agree.
So Mesu and Nathan actually go on a date. Like they have dinner together, which again is something we never really saw with him and Elizabeth. So we're already making progress. This is already good. And we find out that Nathan was thrown from a horse at 13 and that he had a concussion. So that's what gives him a certain degree of reticence. We have this also with Lee. He has written another editorial about Hickam.
These takedown pieces, Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he says, I like Michael. I mean, this is not just somebody that he likes. He worked with him for years. Yeah. Worked with Hickam. And so I don't know, it's definitely surprising. Yeah. And then Rosemary says, you haven't acted like that lately, which is interesting. And so Rosemary says that she says, is the newspaper making things worse? And that's when he stops the second run of the editorial. So I guess it got out there, but not the second run. Yeah. I don't know. Jax, what do you think about this whole thing with Lee and Rosemary working together, running the Village Voice?
Well, I'm just huge Lee and Rosemary stans, especially in the next episode. We'll get to that. I mean, I don't think it's always necessarily the best thing to work with your partner. But for purposes of entertainment on the show, I'm loving it.
Do you think you could work with your fiance every day?
He's here so he can hear what I say. No, I did. I like that we get to share what's happened in our days at night. And I mean, I think I'd drive him nuts if he had to work with me. I'm too obsessive about just everything. I want to talk about the stuff that I'm interested in all the time. And I think he'd be like, okay, slow your roll.
I mean, I don't have a partner, but I absolutely could not. I know I could not.
You know, you couldn't.
No way. I just need my space. I need my space. So
well, I would like to know how Lee suddenly became a writer. That's actually what enters my mind is I never saw him doing any writing. I never heard about writing. And then all of a sudden Rosemary offers him this position and he's writing. And I'm thinking, when did you suddenly become a writer? And I will admit that what goes through my mind is, as much as I love Lee, why do you now if we're talking about Kevin Smith, I know he can write. That's not the issue, of course, but I'm talking about the character Lee. I've never seen as a writer.
Yeah, we never have either. I mean, he was a businessman. Running the mill, which evidently he's still kind of running, but evidently making Joseph do most of it at this point, I guess. Which I didn't even know Joseph was a businessman either. So I don't think madness. Yeah, I mean, it's very convenient. They decided for whatever reason to have these two working together. And I mean, it's kind of amazing that the Village Voice can manage to support two full-time employees so quickly.
True.
Well, I feel like Lee has made a lot of money, so I think they're kind of coasting on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
Probably.
I agree with you. Good point.
Yeah,
I tell you, Jax, you're making some good points. I'm just that's the thing. She comes in and she has this unique perspective that I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
You know, I get pretty obsessive about these shows. I think about them too much. So
good.
So Fiona ends up going off to San Francisco, and Hickam sets up his office, but then he locks himself out of his office, but then it like comes open. I don't know. And so then him and Bill go for a walk, and he says, it's all about perception. Keep on waving, my friend.
Yeah.
So we're talking about politics here, about the perception of that Hickam, has got it all together, and that he's somebody that inspires trust in the people. That's the important thing. And so we also have Nathan asking Elizabeth to teach him how to drive, and then
Ruth's face when you said that was the best. She's like, what?
Yeah. And then Elizabeth wants to start up a book wagon.
Yeah.
So I think that you'd have to get something that was enclosed, though. The wagon that she had didn't have if I recall, didn't have a covering. Book called The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. And it was very interesting. It's about this woman who in Appalachia, Kentucky, that would have a book wagon like this, and she would take up books to the people in this town. And there was something about the minerals and things like that that would make some of these people would get born with they had a blue pigment to their skin. It's wild, and it's true. Like if you look it up, these people, you think that someone's like colored over their skin, but no, it's how they had blue skin. Anyway, very interesting book, The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. I recommend it. I thought it was a very interesting, and it's sad. And It does have some content, but I liked it. Anyway, it just made me think of that with this book wagon that Elizabeth's going to set up.
Yeah.
Because evidently little Jack likes reading about rocks.
Yes.
So, yeah. So this episode to me was kind of a filler episode. I don't think it's that great. I would give it a 7. What do you think, Jax?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it, but I do just feel like it was one of those that's like, how do we flesh out the season? Yeah, I would give it like a 7, maybe a 7.5. But yeah, I liked episode 7 so much better.
Yeah. What do you agree, Ruth?
Yeah, I was gonna say 7, just like you. It's like, it's so scary, Rachel. You and I are starting to get on the same page after all these years. We like we're like almost like total opposites, and now we're starting to come together and
bonding. It's true.
I mean, not that we're ever had animosity, but it's just interesting how our views are becoming so similar. It's wild.
It's true.
Well, we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Well, and so the next one is Hope Valley Days Part 1. And it's that, if you read that, you almost think it's a season finale, Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird for episode 7 to have Part 1. But nevertheless, it's the summary is Mayor Hickam decides that Hope Valley needs to get back to its hopeful, joyous roots and decides to host Hope Valley Days, a collective celebration inspired by giving, fun, hope, and love. And this was so fun, so perfect for Hallmark, that you almost want them to make a whole movie about this like crazy holiday chaos thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like November Christmas, but not sad.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, I had a few kind of questions about it, but I didn't really care that much, just because the whole idea of you'd almost want to go to Hope Valley and each spot is a different holiday. That sounds so fun to me. I don't know. I just had fun with it.
Yeah.
Oh, this episode was delight after delight. I mean, I could not get enough of Rosemary and Lee, especially Rosemary. And everything she did, I was laughing so hard at this episode. She is just, oh my gosh, Pascal Hutton is just,
she's amazing. Yeah.
Utterly brilliant in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
You agree, Ruth?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a fun episode. And I mean, I think it could have been expanded greatly. I mean, I'm hoping for more like this.
My question was, did each place have their own day as part of Hope Valley Days? So did we have Hanukkah Day, Halloween Day, or were they all going simultaneously at the same time for the whole week?
Well, it seems like from Rosemary and Lee's perspective, Rosemary was doing like a different costume every day. Wasn't that what you understood?
That's what I understood. But then they have people coming and trick-or-treating. And so are the townspeople, are they participating in all of the holidays every day? Or are they picking one day and one day we're going to do trick-or-treating, one day we're going to do Valentine's, one day we're going to do, because if you're trick-or-treating, you have to have a costume.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, like, the functionality was like, what's going on? This is kind of chaos, but I didn't really care because it was just fun.
It was fun. Yeah, I agree.
100%. Like I almost liked that it was chaos because it almost felt more exciting.
Yeah.
It starts out with the photograph of the town council, and it's Bill, Ned, Elizabeth, Lee, and Gowan. And they say Carson is missing. So that's your Carson shout out, Ruth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. and I'm sorry, I'm always going to do that. And if you guys don't know why, it's because I work for the guys. So that's like that. So of course that's
right.
always on my mind. Always.
So they have 5 holidays. They have they're going to have Valentine's in the pharmacy. They're going to have Thanksgiving in the schoolhouse. They're going to have Halloween in the press, in the Village Voice. They will have what's the other ones? Then they are supposedly going, they're going to have Hanukkah at the store. And then they're going to have April Fools at Bill's, which kind of fizzled. There really wasn't much.
There was, I think there were too many things going on for Bill to do that. Yeah, he had good intentions, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah, there was no real pranks going on, which I would have loved to have seen Bill get some real good pranks. But they have Hope Valley Days, and this is a big success for Hickam. And I do think sometimes that what we as people just need is some kind of gathering. We need to be together. We need to celebrate together. And it almost doesn't even matter what it is that we're celebrating, what it is about. We just need to be together. And I mean, Hallmark has monopolized that for most of their movies. You know, it's like they have, I mean, who has so many festivals as Hallmark films? Nobody. They have so many. And that's just a human necessity, is we need to gather and be together. And so Hope Valley needs it right now. And so Hickam realizes that. And I mean, part of good leadership is more than just sort of there's a lot of really boring parts of leadership, but most of the important parts of leadership are inspiring confidence and convincing people that they're safe. Those are, like, I think, kind of the two key, and having people get together, having people celebrate together, I think is a big part of that. Yeah. So he's nailing it. He's doing good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is like they have done so much. I'm so happy to see this Hickam's character really blossoming and just so having such a great story this season. I think, I mean, that's in many ways, he's probably becoming when it was like almost who I look forward to in what is Hickam going to do this time.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Rosenbaum is such a gifted actor. Like, they should have been doing this for all the years he was on the show. He's hilarious. He's great comedic relief. He's really quick on his feet. He's got great banter. I really think that finally they're starting to utilize him the way that he should have been utilized all along.
I agree.
Yeah. And then there's there's 2 scenes where he's talking to Faith, because Faith says that she's hoping that the town will help them to get an x-ray machine. But the problem is that she's moved, because originally she was the infirmary for the mine. The infirmary was for the mine. And so the town would help out with the infirmary. And especially once the mine left, then it became kind of this civic thing. But now that it's become her own private practice, he's saying that Hickam's saying, well, we're not going to get the x-ray machine for you. And she says, wait, it could help out the whole town. But he says, well, why, if I do that, then there's other ways I could help out every single business in town. And you could make like an argument that public health is different than helping the the other businesses in a more concrete way. I mean, I they probably would need to show that they're having lots of people break bones and stuff that they need in X-ray machines, like right away. But I don't know. It was I thought it was an interesting moment for Hickam and Faith, and a chance for Faith to kind of be humbled a little bit. And I thought that was good. What do you think, Jax, about that?
You just put to words how I was feeling, but I couldn't quite articulate it. I did like to see Faith get humbled a little. And I don't know why. I enjoy that character, but I do feel like there's been, I think she needed it. I think if this would have happened with another character, I might have not felt the same way, but I thought that Hickam made a really good point that just like he worked his way up, she can do the same thing, and that it will be just really rewarding when she gets to that point. But also, Rachel, to your point about public health and safety, I do think that the argument could be made that they need that, but it could go either way on it.
Yeah. Well, this was a really great episode for Rosemary, for sure. What Ruth, what do you think of her costume, of their costumes? Rosemary and Lee.
Well, from the when I first saw these photos on Instagram, I was like, what are they doing? I thought, I mean, I will be honest, when I first saw the costumes, I was thinking Easter, and I'm thinking they're not celebrating Easter. I don't know why. I just had that idea. It just made me think of, I don't know why. I probably because I saw Lee, and I just automatically went there. And I thought, they're not doing that. What is this? What on earth are they doing? Are they just doing this for fun? And then I saw the episode. So yeah. I mean, it was incredible. It was so much fun. Definitely Rosemary was shining, and
and it was really funny when Hickam knocks on the door and says, "Hail Caesar."
Exactly. Yes. Actually, it's Mark Antony, but nobody gets that right.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Gustav says he's leaving, but then we see him playing the accordion throughout this episode, and I've kind of joked that he's imprisoned in the saloon, Gustav. So I was like, he's out, he's free, because you never see him anywhere else in the town except in the saloon. And then I liked that we have some moments between Elizabeth and Lucas. And he says that I've always wanted to live in one town and have a home. And I related to that because I was the kind of person, I never really had like the job that I wanted to be. When people would say, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, and maybe there was a brief period where I wanted to be a Broadway singer in high school, but I was nowhere near talented enough. But I just never did. I never had that thing that I always want to be a lawyer or, a dancer, like you hear kids sometimes say. And so when I graduated from college, I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I'm done. I have no idea. So I thought about going to law school for a little bit. I ended up going on a mission for my church, and then I worked basically in accounting for 10 years until I don't know, one thing after another, sort of writing turned into film criticism, turned into YouTube, turned into podcasting, all that, kind of becoming a freelancer, kind of related to Lucas talking about not having like a specific job that he always wanted to do, that he just wanted to live in one town and have a home. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that they touched on that, because I think that's very real. I think that's a vulnerable moment for Lucas to share that. And I like that the relationship between Lucas and Elizabeth, we see it deepening. I think in all these episodes, gradually it's happening.
Yeah. And then, so we also have Mei Su's husband shows up. He storms into Bill's office, and at first I was just kind of like, I don't know what, evidently Bill is, you see Bill has knocked him out. He's punched him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Bill, you can't just punch people just because you don't like them. Like, that's not the way things work.
Yeah.
Maybe in Canada, they're nuts like
I was
that.
like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
But then later on, he says he punched me first,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess it was self-defense. But
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, he's shouting all over the place. So yeah, Meisu's very upset. And basically Nathan says, I can only keep him in here so long. And then you see her kind of going down the street and him kind of yelling at her. And yeah, I guess we'll see in the next episode what happens.
Yeah.
But she evidently, there's something going on with their marriage.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
What do you think, Ruth, about all this with Meisu and the husband and everything?
Well, I'm intrigued to see what is actually going on. I would hope that Meisu has finally filled Bill in with what's going on, because I mean, she hired, that's her attorney, so it seems like maybe she's finally spilled the beans somewhat, and we just don't know what that is. I'm hoping that's the case. And so I'm be interested to see where this goes. It's an intriguing little thing that I would not have expected from Hope Valley, but I'm glad that they're including this. I think it makes this has been one of the more interesting stories for me to follow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because he seems like a little bit crazy, but like, is he a bad guy? I don't know. Like, it's hard to know. He's just kind of there. So we'll see. But it's not like he's some outlaw. It's like obviously a bad dude.
Right.
Like some of the people that were with the stopping with the railroad and things like that we've seen on the show. Like, there's like obvious bad guys. And this guy, I'm like, what is going on with him? Do you agree, Jax?
Yeah, prior to him coming to Hope Valley, I thought we were going to find out that he was either emotionally or physically abusive to her. But now that he's here, I don't know what his deal is. He could just be a little unhinged in a not so harmful way, but I don't know, because I wasn't really scared when I saw them interacting. The way he was talking to her was a little intense and not the most respectful, but it didn't like inspire fear in me.
Yeah. Well, and because there must have been a lot of confusion, because evidently Faith thought that they were a married couple in Chicago. So I don't know what's going on. It's interesting. But we also have Robert going to Lucas and not only getting introduced to the pinball machine, but asking Lucas about girls, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah. And again, I'm kind of like, what is Robert going to do? Allie's still a child. What is happening? But
well, are we sure he's talking about Allie, or could he be talking about Angela?
He could be, but Angela, how old is Angela?
Oh yeah, how old is Angela? Robert's just going for girls that are way too young for him. What about that cute girl that's like working in the town? She graduated already. Robert, maybe bark up that tree.
Yeah, and Lucas says, I think the time will fly right by. He's like, calm down. Yeah. So then there's also, we have Nathan saying, it's okay if Lucas teaches me how to drive. But they try that and it's not. And so then Lucas tells him, he says, I wouldn't walk away without asking May first. And so we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be a confrontation in the next episode between Nathan and Meisu.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering how people who were shipping Nathan and Elizabeth, so who were strong team Nathan, reacted to the line where he said that it was probably good that they didn't get together. Because I went, okay, we went there. I mean, I thought it was a fun, sassy little line. I thought that scene was really well played between Aaron and between Kevin. But I did thought, oh, that's a little spicy. I wonder if some people are going to be a little like, no. I thought it was fun though.
Yeah. So the Canfields go to, I forget where it is, the other town, to apply for the loan. And they don't get it at first. And they're really sad. And then Lee makes a call and says that I'll basically pull out my loans unless you give them this loan. But there seemed to be an element of like, if they found out about this, then they would be upset. But I don't feel like it's not that uncommon for people to back each other on loans and stuff. Like, I guess maybe Lee should have told them this. So maybe that's where there'll be a conflict. But I don't think it's that uncommon.
No, and I think it's responsible to use your power and influence to help people that need it and that you think are really like worthy of that. Like, I mean, I think that like Lee knows how hard a worker Joseph is and that Joseph and Minnie are going to do an amazing job with this. So yeah, I don't think it's that shady or that weird. And I don't know if I would tell them. I'm really hoping that it doesn't turn into a plot line where it comes out and that they're mad at them, because I really don't want that.
Right.
He kept saying that I will cover the loan. And I think that just means he's basically like co-signing that I will, but maybe it means that he will cover it, like he will pay for it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess we're supposed to say they didn't get it because these people are racist.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that might be where Lee is coming from. Is it's like maybe he doesn't know what the protocol is, as far as it's implied that they didn't get it because of their race. And now he's going to step in and he doesn't want them to feel, maybe he's concerned that he's only stepping in because of the suspicion of why they didn't get the loan. And so maybe he doesn't want it to be perceived that way. He's really stepping in because he knows they're worthy of it. He's not even thinking. You can tell that with both him and Rosemary, they had to stop and think for a minute. You saw it on their faces. I think they both captured this well. You saw it on their faces of, oh, we know why they didn't get the loan. Like, first of all, it's like, well, why didn't they get the loan? They're hard workers. Of course they're, and then it's like, oh, we know why they didn't get the loan. And so it may just have been a really delicate thing of, he didn't want them to think, well, I'm only doing this because of your race. I mean, maybe that's where he's concerned. And so I'm hoping I'm thinking at some point it's going to come out, because this is Hallmark and this is Hope Valley. And so at some point it will come out, and it will maybe it will be a good talking point. We'll see. I can't imagine it being concealed for like the entire rest of the series, because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah. There were a couple other little moments that I thought were nice throwbacks to the earlier seasons. I really liked the scene with Gowan he was right in front of the mine and you see his profile. I thought that was a good scene. I also liked when Elizabeth sees Jack's sign, the Emerson sign in the library, and you have a moment that was nice. And so it's kind of, I feel like we are getting this season more of those sort of throwbacks to some of the original seasons, which is nice. And let's see, I think we covered almost everything. There was nice between Ned and Florence, the whole Hanukkah thing, that he hadn't celebrated it for a long time because after his wife passed away, he hadn't celebrated. So him getting out the menorah and everything, that was nice.
They're so cute together.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's basically the episode. I forgot all about, so Elizabeth goes to the cafe, and Minnie has a new hire. Anna is now working at the cafe, and she seems very sad, very depressed. Well, Elizabeth meets with her later, and she finds out that Anna's mother is moving to Bellingham, and Elizabeth tries to be sort of positive and say that the Coulter's niece, who we saw last season, that she lives there, and that it could be an exciting adventure. Well, she's feeling really, really sad, and basically Anna says that I want to follow your example and be a sort of a single woman and make it on my own and everything. And that was an interesting plot, or an interesting character moment. What do you think, Jax?
Yeah, I thought it was great that we got to reflect on where Elizabeth came from and who she is now. And I thought that was a great way to showcase that. The only thing that I laughed at a little bit in that scene where Anna, she plays it really well, and she's coming to Elizabeth and she says, like, can you help me? And Elizabeth is like, I mean, I don't know how I can, but I'll try. And I'm like, so you mean no? You mean you're not going to help her? Not because she doesn't want to, but I think Elizabeth is kind of like, I mean, I got a lot going on.
Well,
but I thought the scene was really lovely and really well played by both the actors.
definitely.
Well, and then Elizabeth tells Lucas, says, I feel like I can do almost anything. She talks about conquering her fears. And so I think having Anna tell her this kind of reminds her of how far she's come. So
Yeah, I think sometimes you need someone else on the outside to tell you that, like that it's not just that what you're feeling inside. It's like, no, you inspire me. And I've seen that in you. So that, I think that's really cool.
So Jax, what would you give this one? 1 to 10?
I really liked this one. I'm going to give it a 9.
What do you think, Ruth?
Oh, I've actually been trying to think about that. So I think it deserves a little more than an 8. I mean, I was leaning towards 8, but I'm thinking that might be a little bit low. So I'll just say 8.25. That's where I'll head.
Ooh, 8.25. Yeah, I'll just give it an 8 because I just felt like it was really fun with all the holidays. I just enjoyed it. And you also get to hear Rosemary singing, which was fun.
Yes,
There were just lots of cute moments. Yeah. So let us know what you think about both these episodes. Where would you rank them 1 to 10? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. Please let us know what you think. And Ruth, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media, Ruth Hill 74. And then I have a podcast, Media from the Heart, and a website, mydevotionalthoughts.net.
Great. And Jax?
You can find me Jacqueline C Tweets on Twitter and Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. It really helps us out so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. There's lots of Hardy's inspired merch at the merch store. And at the Patreon group, we are having Kathy Cloves coming on for our Q&A, monthly Q&A, where if you're a patron, you can ask Kathy, the screenwriter of It Was Always You, and The Christmas Promise, you can ask her anything that you want. So join the Patreon. It helps us so much. We really appreciate it. All the information is in the description. And thanks so much, ladies. This was a blast. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.